Hello everyone, my name is Daniela and today I'm going to present to you my virtual poster session for Linguistics 105. First of all, I want to introduce myself. I am doing my Bachelor in International Business and this is my third year at VIU. About my language and my speech communities. I speak four languages which are Romanian, Russian, English and Spanish. I am very lucky to have the chance to learn all these languages because they're very helpful in this country for me. The use of these languages differs with each day. It depends on with people who I contact and with people who I'm talking in a daily basis. I speak Romanian mostly with my family and my friends back home, most of the time through texting or phone calls. Russian, I use it almost every day because of my roommate who speaks Russian to me and other close friends. English is the language that I use most of the time because of the work environment, because of the school, and of course because of the people around me that most of the time do not know Romanian or Russian. And Spanish is the last but not the least. I do speak it very rarely, unfortunately, but I do speak it with some friends that speak Spanish, and this is very helpful sometimes because I do not want to forget the language. Working on the ethnolinguistics portfolio did help me a lot to learn about my roommate and my very good friend Diana. She is from Uzbekistan and she's a bilingual person. She only speaks Russian and English, but she does use both of the languages on a daily basis, and both of her languages have a very high level. Most of the time she speaks Russian with family and friends and me, but English is basically the language that is mostly spoken between us because of friends, because of work, because of school, and people that we just see every day and that do not speak Russian. As we all happen to find people in this country that speak our language, or at least a language that we know better than English, as in my case, it is very important to find the community and to find the people that can understand you in a different way, because sometimes it's very difficult to express our feelings in English, and speaking with someone that can understand you might help you adapt better, find friends, close friends in my case, and also feel a little bit like home. My informant's native language is Russian. Diana is from Uzbekistan, but she comes from Georgian mother and a Tatar father. In her family, nobody speaks Uzbek. Diana did study Uzbek in school, but she never used it in the real life. So the only thing she knows are just a few basic words in Uzbek language. Most of the time she is using Russian as her language for a daily basis life. It does not bother her because mostly everyone understands her, even if she goes to the market or if she goes to a movie. The movies are in Russian, and she can rent movies that are same in Russian. If she goes to any store, everybody's gonna understand Russian. Russian is a very rich language. It has a big luggage of adjectives and lyrical words. Russian nouns are declined in 6 cases. There are nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, instrumental, and prepositional case. When I asked Diana to translate me a few basic words, I did realize that Russian and English sentence structure are very similar. However, the pronunciation, the accent, and everything else differs from English and Romanian and even Spanish, because Russian is a Slavic language. Russian has also a big luggage of international words, so we could easily hear words like coffee, problem, flashcard in the daily usage of Russian speakers. Idioms are expressions with figurative meanings, and Russian has a variety of them. Russian speakers use a lot of idioms. Most of the times, the foreigners will find it difficult to understand what people are saying because they might take it as a literal meaning, which sometimes it does not mean it. I gave some few examples in my ethnolinguistics portfolio about Russian idioms. I did ask my informant to give me some idioms that I have no idea about, so I tried to translate them. Sometimes I was right, sometimes I was wrong, but I was very impressed about what a big variety has this language and how many expressions there exist. One of my favorite one is поджать хвост, is to turn one's tail between one's leg. It's like when somebody gets really scared or they are scared of doing something, they give their word, a promise that they're going to do something, and then they're getting scared, so they stop doing that. They hide away and they just pretend that they forget or something like that. Learning about the idioms, I did realized how complex the Russian language is. Russian language is a very rich language. It has a lot of beautiful words that can be used to describe the beauty of this world. I was very impressed about the few dialects that Russian language has, because there is the slightly difference between those dialects are just accent, pronunciation, and just a few unknown words for other people. Mostly Russian is one whole of a language, so people from different parts of the world can understand each other if they speak Russian. People are the ones who create dialects and pronunciations and new words. I believe that Russian did not have the chance to get so many dialects because of the Soviet Union, which had a very huge impact on the population who speaks Russian. Basically, everything was the same, so the language was the same too. The informal Russian language is mostly spoken between friends and families, same as in my country, Romanian, in my language. Informal language is very inappropriate in a professional environment. So if somebody is going to address someone in a friendly way in a professional environment, they might get in troubles. Slangs actually are very common in Russian language. We can find the street language very common, and most of the times people are gonna make fun of it on TV shows, and this is how they create awareness of the slang Russian. And also the religion has a big impact on the language use. In Uzbekistan, the majority of the people there are Muslims, so they do implement Arabic words in their language use. Russian language, I could classify it as two-sided. It has the bright side with beautiful, astonishing words and beautiful poetry and amazing stories. And then there is the dark side with the slangs and cursing words. I believe that Russian is the very well-known language for a lot of cursing words, unfortunately. I believe that this is what brings the bad thing in the Russian, because we know that Russian is a language spoken all over the world and so many people speak it. So I personally would prefer that people show the beauty of this language and not the dark side of it. Comparing ethnographies of communications. Pronouns are words that take the place of nouns. Russian language has 6 types of pronouns: personal, possessive, reflexive, demonstrative, determinative, and interrogative. The language uses 3 genders: masculine, feminine, and neutral. This helps the people to avoid repeating themselves when speaking, when communicating, when writing something. You do not want to repeat the same word over and over again, or the same name, or the same name of a location or a place or a name of a person. The one thing that I want to point out about Russian pronouns is the personal pronouns, and specifically second singular and second plural version, as in English is both mean you, and in Russian this is very important because you cannot address to somebody which is older than you as you second singular. You have to address to them as you second plural, which is вы and not T. This is very important in Russian culture and in Russian communication. If you'll address someone which is older than you or higher than you in the social level, you might get in some troubles about that. Some ways of greeting are also different. For example, they say привет, which means hi in English. This is something that you're going to use with friends and family and very well-known friends. Здравствуйте, which means hello. It is mostly used with elder people or unknown people. And добрый день, which means good afternoon, is basically a phrase, a greeting phrase that can be used with everyone. So it depends on who you are talking with, and the way you address should clearly show the respect and show that you know that that person deserves the respect that you are showing. Communicative competence is the ability to be able to integrate into a society and to follow the cultural manners and models. I do believe that children learn from people around them. So if the children are around their parents, they're gonna do the same thing as their parents do. If they're around by their siblings or teachers or nannies or somebody else, if they're mostly around those people, they're gonna follow what they do, how they act, and how they speak. In Uzbekistan, there is a small difference between rural and urban areas. They do affect the communication between people. It is mostly seen that in rural areas, people speak a more informal language than in urban. In urban, people tend to be more globalized, more professional, and they do show more respect for each other because most of the times they do not know each other. So this way they should show more respect than they would usually do in a rural area where everybody knows each other. I do believe that religion creates norms and values in communication, and as it's seen in Uzbekistan, ladies are not allowed to shake hands with men. Doesn't matter if they know each other or not, or even if it's the first meeting and they still do not shake hands. They would just say hello, how are you, and that would be it. Poverty is a big factor that affects how people think and connect. For example, if a poor family has a child and a rich family has a child, the difference between those children is going to be that one of them is going to be more educated, as in Uzbekistan money are a very important factor in education. And also the child that comes from a rich family will have more opportunities to grow and to do something better with their life than the one who comes from a poor family. The way children act when they grow and in their childhood, all over this time, it depends on their family, on their parents, how they are educated, and what school they go, with whom they connect, and with whom they spend most of their times, and where, of course. Uzbekistan's official language is Uzbek. There are other minor spoken languages like Russian, Tajik, Arabic. Russian is actually the second most spoken language, and most of the time people are going to understand the language even if they do not speak it. Many of the public schools do teach Russian, and also there are many schools that are basically just in Russian, and they do have some Uzbek languages, but everything else is in Russian. Some people live in Uzbekistan all their life and they do not speak Uzbek, for example my friend, and this is because of the accommodations that those people have. They do not have the necessity to learn the language because everything for them is available in Russian language. However, the government is working on a de-Russification process. They are changing everything related to Russian language. For example, many street names are changing. All the official documents are only in Uzbek. As Uzbekistan is still recovering from all the occupations, I do believe that it's going to come the day when in Uzbekistan it's going to be necessarily to learn Uzbek and speak Uzbek. Gender and identity in Uzbekistan. Children are taught from early ages that boys and girls are different. And in Uzbekistan, the religion of Islam has a big influence on people and how they see people in different environments. I would consider that many Uzbek families are very old-fashioned. The families would live together after the kids get married, and this way they have a big family in one house. The politics and the society is mostly dictated by men. There are just a few women positions that are in the government or in high paid positions all over the country. People do not shake hands, and it is very inappropriate to show affection in public places. However, the youth is changing due to the globalization and all the technology that is available to them at this time. The languages in my informant countries are mostly influenced by the neighbor countries. Russian is one of the minor languages that is spoken by 14.2% of the population. Tajik is spoken by 4.4% of the population. Uzbek language is a part of the Turkic family. Over the years, Uzbek languages had been passed through a lot of changes. For example, the Uzbek alphabet has changed 5 times in a very short period of time. This has had a big influence on the education. Many books, many documents have not been translated yet to the Latin alphabet, as the Cyrillic alphabet was mostly the main alphabet that Uzbek language has used. Across the 13 regions of the countries are many minor spoken languages. However, Russian gets a big portion of the spoken languages because of the business that is run under Russian influence. Russian is a non-standard language spoken in Uzbekistan, but it does has a lot of influence over the country. Uzbekistan has an authoritarian regime, even if the government does not accept this. The government is trying to eliminate the usage of the Russian language through many methods that they're implementing every year. The derussification process has started in the 1990s when Uzbekistan has become an independent republic. In a study made in 3 regions of Uzbekistan, Tashkent, Bukhara, and Samarkand, from 3,000 people questioned, 93% of them had admitted that they do speak Russian on a daily basis, and another 17% has said that they are able to speak English language. I could definitely say that the country is formed from a multilingual society. There are many spoken languages in the country, even if they are minor, they do exist. The minor communities in Uzbekistan are not very well accepted in the society. Most of the time they are just neglected, nobody cares about them. Minority groups in Uzbekistan mostly come from neighboring countries. They are known as ethnic groups like Tajiks, Ukrainians, Russian, Azerbaijan, or Turkish people. The government does not allow them to form a political party. There is a very small budget for the languages taught in the schools where there are minor communities. Even many schools have stopped teaching students some of the second languages like Tajik or Azer language. Most of the time, the government does not allow minorities to manifest themselves and their culture. It is very surprising that the Uzbek population actually grew from 40% to 60% in 1992. However, there are a lot of Russian schools. For example, the University of Economics, Plekhanov, where my friend, she has made her studies. It is a Russian university. To conclude my presentation, I would like to say that Uzbekistan has a political system that is against the multicultural and multilingual population. The main spoken languages are Uzbek and Russian. Uzbekistan is a country in development and the youth is getting more globalized, so I'm pretty sure that the country will start very soon an emancipational period. I want to thank my informant and my other friends that helped me to do this project, and I want to thank my professor for his support and his help in writing my ethnolinguistic portfolio. And of course, I want to thank you, my colleagues, for showing your support and your comments about the reflections on the ethnolinguistical project.